from PRX.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary, it's time for the podcaster who doesn't put the lime in his coconut. He puts it, because I said, I don't like that. I like it in my water. And I do shake it all about, but in this one I don't, because it's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast to put you to sleep. Sorry, I just took a big sip of water right before I hit record, and I said, I didn't realize there was a lime in here, in my water. Delilah. And that's it. Let's keep the show going. Hey, everybody, it's Scoots. I'm talking about tonight's sponsor, Helix Sleep. And if you don't have a Helix mattress in your life, you got to think about taking the quiz at helixsleep.com/sleep. I've been sleeping in my Helix probably longer than you've been listening to this podcast. And I love my bed so much. I have a move coming up, and I'm trying to decide because I have to move in a couple different stages just due to things outside of my control. And I know I'm going to be in my apartment, but most of my stuff's going to be gone. And I'm like, should I keep my Helix there and then buy another Helix for my next destination? Or should I pay to have that Helix moved, but I don't want to be without it because I don't think I'll be able to sleep without it because I love sleeping in my Helix. And I know it'll be super easy if I take the Helix quiz at helixsleep.com/sleep. Maybe my needs and feel preferences have changed. So I could see what my options are. I could choose between a Luxe mattress, a Helix Elite, or just, whatever comes up in my search. I know I'll have choices. So the question is, do you have that kind of relationship with your mattress that you don't want to be without it? Because if you don't, what are you waiting for, right? You could have a Helix shipped straight to your door free of charge and get testing it out. But the first thing you need to do is just take that quiz because Helix has you and your needs in mind, your feel preferences. How do you like to sleep? How does your partner like to sleep? So it is time for you to get a new bed. Because trust me, this summer, I do not want to be without my Helix mattress. And Helix has got an amazing deal lined up for you. Go to helixsleep.com/sleep for 27% off site-wide during their 4th of July sale happening now. This offer is exclusive for listeners to Sleep With Me. That's helixsleep.com/sleep for this exclusive 4th of July sale offer. That's 27% off site-wide. helixsleep.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody. Sleep With Me podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states. All right, everybody, this is Scoots. I need your attention. If you fall asleep fast, I really, really need you to listen and hear me right now. If you fall asleep fast and you're hearing me and I got you right now, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus so I can keep doing this, so I can keep putting you to sleep fast. But if you are hearing me and you fall asleep fast right now, and that window's open, I may only have your attention for the next 10 seconds. Could you go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus right now on your phone, sign up to support the show, and set up the bonus content tomorrow? If you're one of those people that never hears the intro, never hears the episode, and Sleep With Me, and you're a regular listener, Sleep With Me, you fall asleep fast, and Sleep With Me makes your life better, or those two things are related, I really, really hope you are hearing me right now, and you're perking up in bed. Because Sleep With Me Plus exists so we can put you to sleep fast. It's the only way we're able to do it. No company would pay for ads that no one hears, right? And so for people that fall asleep fast, those of you that support the show on Sleep With Me Plus, support the show for everybody that falls asleep fast. Do you fall asleep fast? I'm just asking. Like if you have no idea what any episode's about other than it works for you, or you hear the intro and you fall asleep fast, and you're hearing me right now and listening to me, it is really rare. I am talking right to you, not in a general thing. You say, yeah, I fall asleep fast. I love this podcast because I fall asleep so fast, Scoots. I didn't know. Are you talking really to me? Yeah, really. No, I'm not kidding. I'm really not kidding. You're probably the only one out of everybody that falls asleep fast, You're the only one listening and paying attention to me right now. I'm not kidding. The stats back this up. And I really need you to think about supporting the show. If you fall asleep fast, you're using this show like a service. And it's a service I'm happy to provide, but I can only do it with people support, the people that say this is a valuable service. So do you fall asleep fast? Does that make your life better? Is that valuable to you? And not conceptually valuable, actually valuable to you, just like all the other stuff that makes your life better, right? Your favorite foods, your favorite books, your favorite films, your favorite shows. You pay for all that stuff, right? So if it's tangibly valuable to you, you're listening to me and hearing me, oh, I hope you are. You could be that one person, and you're going to go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus and support the show. We designed Sleep With Me Plus with super listeners in mind. One big contingent of super listeners is people that fall asleep fast. I also like saying that. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Oh, Mystery Bard, a lot of people help out on this show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support your scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Hannah like banana. Leah does the transcript.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. And don't forget, the most comfortable way to listen to Sleep With Me is with sleep phones. You can get Sleep With Me merch, Sleep With Me branded sleep phones at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep-phones and use Sleep With Me at checkout to get $5 off your order. The only way you can get the Sleep With Me merch editions is sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep-phones. Thanks, everybody. What do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it the Bedtime Story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you can set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, emotions, wind, whatever's keeping you awake. I'd like to take your mind off of that. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders. But basically what I'm trying to do is keep you company in a safe place so you can drift off into sleep. Kind of like a distraction, kind of like a friend. I call myself your bore friend, your bore bae, your bore bud, your bore cuz. It could be just pod guy or pod boy or pod... How about pod kid? Maybe I could get a sidekick called the pod kid. I don't know. Does that seem a little trite and old-fashioned? I don't know. Maybe I could come back to that. But so if you're new here, here's what to expect. Structurally, the show is about, it starts out with about 4 to 6 minutes of business. That's how we keep over 600 archived episodes free and how we keep the podcast going. And then we have an intro, which I've just started. The intros are usually about 12 minutes or so of me explaining the podcast and trying to come up with a metaphor about how the podcast works. And after that will be an episode. Tonight we're going to start our new series, which hopefully you'll like. I think I'm excited about it. It's definitely pretty dreamy and sleepy, and ideally be like a slow, very slow moving, gentle journey to carry you off into dreamland. But because it's a podcast, let me explain a couple things. If you're new this year, welcome so much. Thank you for checking the show out. I really appreciate it. Thank you for listening this far. This podcast is a bit different, so that's why I want to cover the structure with you and what to expect. Just because this is a podcast, this is one of the rare podcasts you don't need to listen to. Like, I hear from a lot of people that like the podcast. They say, hey, man, I listened to your podcast. I barely heard anything. And that's great. Like, this is a podcast you can listen to, or you can play it and not listen to it. You can, I don't know what to do. Can you listen to it but not hear it, or can you hear it and not listen? Either one. Guess what? Either one, or neither, or neither. You could be in its presence, or you could reflect its presence. You can receive the sound waves, or, reflect them. Whatever works for you. But this podcast, it's a podcast you can listen to. That's your choice, or that you can pay attention to. Ideally, I'll get enough of your attention that you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, like I said. But then I'll be kind of keeping you company with my chatter, my rambling, my lulling, soothing tones, hopefully, and my goofy storytelling, that you could drift off at any time. I make the shows are about an hour. I put, the shows are complete, but you don't need to listen. But the reason I make the shows about an hour and that they have a beginning, a middle, and end is not only so you don't have to listen, but so you don't have to feel any pressure to fall asleep. I'll be here an hour to keep you company in the deep, dark night. And you can even play back-to-back episodes, as some listeners do. So you could listen for 8 hours. You could listen for 2 minutes, whatever works for you. I'll be here to help. And ideally, this is the only way I know how. So it doesn't work for everybody, because this is kind of just like a silly storytelling podcast. But the reason I want to help is because I've been there, tossing and turning, and I just want to be a friend, like a friendly distraction in the deep, dark night. Like when I was a kid and I couldn't sleep, I listened to the radio, and it never put me to sleep, but just hearing those voices, whether it was Dr. Demento or the DJs on classical radio in particular, or old time radio, it was, I don't know, it was something else to think about than what was keeping me awake. It took my mind off stuff. And that's really why I'm here, is to take your mind off stuff. Usually I have something goofy. I was on the top of my mind that I could talk about, that I try to create a metaphor for the podcast. But I said, I don't know, it doesn't feel right. For some reason, I'm not I don't object or objectify sidekicks to superheroes. But I guess for some reason, I don't know. I guess this is a weird thing to explore, is I don't feel like, it's not that I don't feel like I deserve a sidekick, and it's not like I don't need a sidekick, but I don't think a sidekick what if I become I guess in some sense, this is the reality of the situation. And this is the dynamic we're kind of entering into, is I'm your sleep sidekick. Like I said, you can call me your bore bud, your bore bae, your bore friend. I don't know, sleep sidekick, it has alliteration. It doesn't have, I'll be your sleepy sidekick. We could, a kid sidekick. Is there any sidekicks called kid sidekick? It doesn't have sleep in there, though. But if I was kid sidekick, that would be pretty, that might be already one. But, that's what I'll be. I'll be here at your side. I'll be here talking to you. Usually sidekicks speak with a more dynamic range and vocal excitement. So let me see if I could do a little sidekick monologue in this pace. Hey, yeah, I'm totally your sidekick here. Yeah, totally. So excited to be here talking to you in lulling, soothing tones. Don't worry. Hey, you could listen to this too. If you put it at 2 times speed, it might actually sound like a sidekick. Hey, do you totally want me to hold your utility belt? I could really carry that for you. Great. Because all I want to do is, you're a hero. You're really on a hero's journey, hero. I'm so glad to be in service to the heroines and the heroes of the world. They're just out there doing their best, living their lives. That's who I want to be a sidekick for. is so that you can go and get a good night's sleep. Hey, I love your utility belt. It's totally cool and rad. But yeah, I want to be your sidekick because I feel like you deserve a good night's sleep. And I want you to flourish. That's what the world really needs is more people out there flourishing. And that's why I wanted to become your sleepy sidekick is because I want to help you get some sleep. It kind of sounds like a kid giving, like an uncomfortable kid giving an essay. But I think you can imagine, like, I can picture the much faster pace of a sidekick talking. But that's really what I want to do. And I'm more than happy to apply to be your sidekick. That's kind of what these intros are. And it usually takes 2 or 3 times, like, for all my applications. So even my sidekick ones. So see how it goes. Yeah, usually my first application, I lose. Second application, I spill coffee on. Third application makes it into my car. But then it reaches my passenger seat floor and gets... the fourth application usually gets into an envelope, maybe even with a stamp. But then somewhere between my couch, my kitchen, and my car, that one goes. So usually fifth application is when I actually get sent out, even an email, because even if I'm doing it online, somehow I can still spill coffee on it. But yeah, this podcast is really me auditioning, applying to be your sleep sidekick, someone that sits across the room from you, chattering calmly, trying to keep you company, and offer you like an alternative of something to sleep to sleep to, other than whatever else is keeping you awake. So I think that's it. Like I said, it takes a few tries. This podcast is a little bit different, so give it a few tries. Most reviewers say, like, it was the first few times I said, "What is this thing?" But really, I want to help. Like, I've been there ever since I was a kid, and all I ever really wanted was someone to sit there and say, "Hey, that seems tough," and that's what I know it's tough, and I want to help, and that's why I make this show, and I'm proud to make it for you. Now, it doesn't work for everybody, so if it doesn't work for you, there's a couple other, there's pink noise, binaural beats are good, waves are pretty good. LibriVox has got a lot of different options out there, or other audiobooks. So try some of that stuff. But I really hope, and I work very hard, and I really hope I can help you fall asleep. Thanks for coming by.
Hey, everybody, this is Scoots. And if you fall asleep fast, like right after the story starts, thanks. Thanks for listening to the intro. But you're one of the groups who I really need to support the show, or if you usually fall asleep fast and something changed. Sleep With Me Plus is built with fall asleep fast listeners in mind. And tons of other super listeners. But if you just happen to be hearing me and listening to me right now, this message is for you. Like, if you fall asleep fast, is that valuable to you? Like, do you consider this show a service that makes your life better? And is this a service worth paying for? Is it a service worth more than other services you already pay for? Because I know I pay for my books, I pay for my music, I pay for my movies, my shows, my comic books. There's tons of other stuff I use that makes my life better. So if you fall asleep fast, could you support the show at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus right now? And don't wait for a better time, because without some of the support of fall asleep fast listeners, they're like this, the ability to make the show and put you to sleep fast is not going to be around. So please, if you're the one listening and hearing me now, yeah, I fall asleep fast. Yes, of course that's valuable to me. Don't wait. Sign up now at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus.
All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to our new series, which is yet untitled. They kind of have a long working title, but this is, I'm probably recording this maybe 2 or 3 weeks before you'll hear it. Ideally, 2 or 3 weeks. But I don't have a calendar in front of me. If you're a patron, you may be hearing this even earlier. But this new story, it's
I think the working title would be, I don't know, the girl who was raised by, I don't know. I don't want to give, well, I guess it doesn't matter. It's a sleep podcast, but, well, you like, I don't know. This one will have slightly more mystery because it's very episodic, but it also has a through story. But a through story you're allowed to sleep to because it's just like it's an episodic series. You can listen to them in any order. This happens to be the first one, so I have to do a little bit of like I guess pre-prep here and prepare you. But it'll be a new series. It'll be a little discussion of what am I saying? Discussion. Sorry, I got distracted. But each episode will be narrated by a different narrator. But the protagonist will remain the same. And it should be a nice one. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm always excited before the first episode. Sometimes the excitement carries me through to 6 episodes. Right around 6 episodes where it gets really tough. Though sometimes it gets tough on episode 2. But I have the concept. I kind of want to leave it a mystery because I think it'll be even. This may be our sleepiest one yet. And be heavy on the sleepy imagery. So, like, this is our new series. I don't know what else to tell you other than to, I don't think there'll be any Antonio Banderas. Like, this will probably have the shortest setups. Because the concept, if I explained it to you, this would be the first time, other than like Nuns in Space, that one needed more to explain how I got into space with Nuns in Space. This isn't a Nuns in Space, but this one's a 1-sentence explanation. I mean, making sense of it, but you could, you just kick back. So kick back. Here's how I'll do a transition, because it's always hard. The nice thing about having Antonio Banderas come in when he's available is that we can do a transition, but kind of transition yourself. I don't know if you've ever been in a boat before, a rowboat, or a nice, like a boat, like that's just rocking, or just imagine yourself on a dock, one of those floating docks, plenty of space on all sides of you, though. Floating gently in the water, connected to the earth and to the ground, so not just steps away. And maybe your feet are dangling and you're sitting there and the sun is shining on you. And you're kind of relaxing. And the one thing you can tell is that nice calming motion of the water. The calm, barely noticeable up and down of the water as we begin our new series. So, when you first came to us, you were placed in my care. And the strange thing was, it wasn't because of my name, but because of my gentle motion, the steady rocking, the floating, the gliding, the splash and the swish of the water. I've always wondered if the caretaker knew you were coming when he repaired my pumps, when he cleaned the debris out of the canal, and then he refilled and the water began to flow. And once again it churned and churned around and around. And then he set to work repairing the first boat, and he placed it back in the water, and the caretaker got in, and he lied down in the boat as it slowly wound around. As he lay there, he almost had the same look you have on your face some nights, that peaceful look that goes across your face as the moonlight reflects in your eyes. But then he really got to work, building the rest of me back up, bushwhacking what nature had reclaimed, but just, I guess, more bush shaping than bushwhacking, bit by bit. And he made sure that your leaf was ready to cradle you, like floating on the water, holding you as some of the leaves, the real leaves in my canal, cradle those little dandelion puffs sometimes. And I began to take shape once again as I had when the guests of past had come. Because what good is Mother Goose's journey through a treasury of tales without the journey? And without the tales, I guess. And then you joined us. You came into my life, into my arms in some sense, and around my arms, into the boat, resting there for a time as I took care of you through the attraction, and the caretaker came, and you grew. The caretaker fed you and changed you and taught me how to use my tronics to do the same. And you were surrounded by these fairy tales, as the guests had called them. The caretaker had put them all back together, and you would watch them, and you would listen to them, and at times I almost grew jealous of them, being able to make eye contact with you, even though it was just through me, and they were a part of me. Sometimes I don't know, I guess it's just a Mother Goose's jealousy. And you never saw the caretaker, really, except when you were really young. He wanted to stay separate from you for some reason. And so my tronics would help you and hold you, and we would teach you to walk, but every night you returned to the leaf. You floated around, gently rocking, gently bobbing, winding and sleeping almost every night so soundly. I know the guests didn't have sleep like you did. But then the fretting began with the caretaker. After you learned to walk and move around, the caretaker seemed concerned that you wouldn't travel outside of me. You remained within my attraction. You stayed close to the winding journey of the canal. And the caretaker said, you cannot go in circles forever. And so, on those nights when you slept, I began to take on the caretaker's worries, and so did the rest of the park. For the caretaker said, we have a sense of purpose, and this is not it. While I am the caretaker, you are the attractions. And he said, it's time for a refurbishment, Mother Goose. That's what they used to call it at these parks anyway. Sometimes the refurbishments were extreme, and sometimes they were a tune-up, the caretaker explained to me. And my memories, I searched, and the rest of the park searched them for how would we motivate you. And we said, to what? And the caretaker said, to venture out outside of you, Mother Goose, at first. And secretly, I know I did not want you to leave, so I may have been, not working wholeheartedly. But you didn't seem to want to leave either. Or I argued, were you ready to leave? I felt like you were unaware that there was a world, a park outside of me. In the worlds, within the park. It's a funny thing, but, and then there was another world outside of us, outside of the park. I guess I would say a lesser world, but a world I was unaware of, except through the caretaker and the guests. But we began to see what our purpose would be, to get you out into the world of the park at first, and then to get you... I can't think any further than that. And even at the time, I kind of refused because I said, I said, could she sleep here every night? And the caretaker said, I'm not sure. She'll have to decide. And I was torn. Never before. I mean, sometimes when the child guests would journey, I would say they weren't half bad, but I guess this is what the caretaker calls love, or the guests, or the other attractions. But the caretaker said you needed to go. It was essential. And he told us to scan our memories again of guests of past and the experiences of the guests, and that could inform us of how to move forward. And so I looked on my memories of the guests from long ago and the behavior, and what was underneath the behavior, and how could we reshape those tales. And I would listen to the caretaker thinking, because they were, they always came to leave their world behind. That was why they were at the park, but they couldn't really leave it behind. I mean, some of them could, but most of them, they seemed to just be a temporary visitor, and they wished they could stay. I'd say it was a panoply of feelings that we could sense with them, and what they were telling themselves and how they were acting. I think the word was preoccupied, but they were there to suspend their lives in our silly, dreamlike version of the world. But I began to start to shape my themes around our discussions and say, okay, well, these were the things that the guests wanted for the guest children, the parents and the children. And it started with the Red Riding Hood, just setting out from a home that we said, okay, there's Red Riding Hood setting out. Maybe you'll see yourself in her, waving goodbye. And then the next was the Billy Goat's gruff, and we just had to change that because all of us remembered the children running and the parents and the workers, the hosts saying no running. And so we rearranged the Billy Goat's gruff to Billy Goat's rush. And, even the caretaker tried to record more audio for that. And then the troll was saying, no running, no, no. And showing a scraping of the knee of one of the billy goats in exchange for the running. And then we had the Sleeping Beauty, which you always seemed to look curious at, the hero on the horse and the prince in the Sleeping Beauty. But the caretaker was, because the caretaker said, what other things are you remembering? And I said, sitting still, even in the boat, in my boat, and everyone started to chime in, all the other attractions. I said, yes, sitting still. It was an essential part of being a guest. Must have been very important for some reason out there in the larger world. Or, of course, we could have said, well, maybe it was something else, but... And so you remade a Sleeping Beauty and caused her to keep moving back and forth, and that it was even the little micey poos and the godmother and the hero on the horse saying, sit still, please. Look at you. You're moving back time. I don't know. It was a bit dreamlike. And that was a flourish, of the caretaker. But otherwise he said it wouldn't make even less sense. And I said, yes, children move around a lot. I never understood why that was one of their values, to just sit still, please. I can hear it 1,000 times in my ears. And then there was Hansel and Gretel in their thing, and that was another easy one, because we had them wandering anyway. And that was another one. So instead of them leaving the candy thing, we had them wandering off, and a nice grandmother taking their children to the park and buying them treats as guests. And then the children, as we saw play out so many times, just wandering off, not paying attention. And so we worked to arrange that scene to remind you not to wander off. Though in some sense we were trying to make you wander out of me. But I just remember that was do not wander off, they would say. And it already was kind of like Hansel and Gretel were doing that, but we tried to reinforce it there. And then there was another important one, very important one, which was another easy Jack and the Beanstalk. Going where you're not allowed, where you don't belong, past the signs that say do not enter. So all we really had to do was keep it almost all the same, except for Jack getting away with the goose and the golden eggs, and Jack climbing past all the signs that say do not enter, area closed to guests. They said that's a very good one for them. And then there was the cave and the genie and the lamp and a bunch of riches in gold. And that one we just said, we tried to say, well, that's too expensive. That was another one. Why? Like, just pick one thing. And I want. So we just had the genie, like a child that we could make, that we built, a tronic child, obviously. And then the genie shaking the genie's head. I think they called that greed or gluttony. I want to just pick one thing. It's too expensive. And the caretaker had to do those voices. And then we had the three little pigs and the puppy wolf. And we did that. We tried to teach you wash your hands was another one. So we had to sneak that one in there. So we tried to go for two because I said, we forgot about wash your hands after you use the potty. It's another one that none of the guests followed anyway, even the parents all the time. And then the idea that at some point the park must close and you must go home. And the children saying, no, I do not want to leave. And this, began the message we were trying to express to you, that it would be time to leave and you wouldn't want to go. And the puppy wolf was trying to encourage the children to go, leave the park, it's closed, wash your hands and leave the park, please. Three little pigs. Well, two, because one was not washing one's hands. And the other two pigs were trying to go. We were trying to get them just to go into your house. Let me blow you away from this park because it's closed and you refuse to leave. Though the park is closed, we know you had a good day as a guest, but now it's time to go. And then there was the big finale scene that we had to remake, which was that like everyone was happy, even the antagonists like the trolls and the puppy dog, the puppy wolf, and Little Red Riding Hood was there. So we said, okay, well, she was at the beginning, first leaving her home. Let's show her celebrating. But the whole idea of the grandmother seeming essential and the kind of the way things would we just said, well, how do we get this right? Why is everyone so happy? No one seemed very happy at the park at the end of the day. A few did. But we also tried to show, geez, all this running around and doing and eating and spending. So it was a kind of a little bit muddled, but we didn't know. We barely just changed it. We said that Little Red continuing to walk off, and we tried to make a little shrug of her shoulders with the tronic, but it was not easy. And we said, okay, other than that, I guess that kind of makes the message. She's learned these things, and now she's walking off and leaving.
And then, of course, a few of the other attractions had to butt in and say, well, I don't get this. I said, well, this is the best we'll do. Let's see how she reacts. Before we'd kept everything under tops, and you kept trying to peek a look. It was a good thing we planned it out ahead of time. The way I make it sound, it sounds like it took much longer than it did. But as soon as we revealed it to you, it was clear you did not like it at all. And at first we thought it was because we had changed things and you were so used to it. But I noticed you started to cover the heads of the adults, and then you started to pull the little billy goats and the Hansel and Gretel and Little Red out of the scenes, away from the scenes. And then you got into one of my leaves and you stayed for a while. And now you were old enough to move around and bathe yourself and get yourself water and fresh water and find the food the caretaker had left for you. And even you explored cooking and figuring out how to use the implements the caretaker left behind. And you even seemed a little curious, but suddenly became listless and always tired and lying in the leaf. And of course we were all, we said, oh no, what have we done wrong? How could this have gone much worse? And all of us started to hear louder and louder the echoes of the guests in these rides. And I still to this moment do not know if they were real or recorded, or just echoing in my memory of the whole park. Remembered it, even the asphalt, even the plants that had cracked up and grown through the asphalt. If they retained the memories of the guest chatter. And I guess it was a nervous chatter. And so we saw it, or we assumed it was what was impacting you. And that the guest experiences maybe were deeper than we had known. And somehow this echo from the past was making you, feel down and tired and sleepy. And so a few nights later, it wasn't even a decision, and as you fell into a deep sleep, we instead of refurbishing it, we almost closed the attraction down. We removed all the tronics and all the figures, and removed all the audio. You know, somebody had to take them, and we put them all in the old boats in storage, haphazardly. So just throw, put the pigs there, it doesn't matter. Let's strip the ride down. And then there was nothing to view, but still you stayed in the boat. And then the caretaker's shredding exploded, as did all of ours. And we said, okay. And the caretaker said, we must stop the motion of the canal next and see if she sets out from it. And you didn't. And then the caretaker said, we must drain the canal then. And see if that affects it, that the lack of stimulation, maybe this is, the caretaker said, don't worry, we're concerned, this is good, but maybe this is pushing us towards something, towards a solution. Maybe this will help her leave and, drive you to explore outside of me, which I did not like, but now it was in a position where I cared more for you and I don't know, than what I really wanted. And sometimes you would get out and walk to the exit, and you did seem to grow bored from the lack of stimulation finally. But you wouldn't leave. You'd look at my exit and you'd look at my entrance, and you seemed to go into a stage of a pouting. I think they called it as a guest, or anger. And you would stomp your feet, and you would berate the boat and tell it to move, and you would, it was like you knew I was there watching you, and you were expressing your displeasure with me. But then things changed further, before you started in your
more active mode, I guess, your active displeasure. You started pulling levers and pressing buttons, and you found the water outlets, and you refilled the canal. And you kept testing and found the motors that drove the water and started the water flowing again. And you started to explore parts of my attraction that you had never been in, the backstage. And you found the old boat storage filled with all the tronics and all the parts from all the scenes. And you looked on it so curious, so perplexed. And you started to see behind the magic, I guess, in some sense of what made the attraction work. And now you didn't realize that I could control the tronics beyond the mechanisms, but you started to look at where they needed to be coupled with power or where they needed to be charged. And then you found out how to set the other boats loose. The boats were still filled with the tronics and in some of the scenes, and you set all the other boats loose into the canal. And then you found out how to regulate their release, and you seemed to be delighted. I don't ever recall seeing you clap before. But as a boat just piled full of, red and a troll and some plastic flowers, you would clap and laugh and run alongside it. And we were all perplexed, and you did this for days and days and days and jumped in and out of boats. And you went from being like a child of the winter, resting and hibernating like some of our unpaid guests do, the mammals, to frolicking with the bees of the spring. I don't mean to jump too much into Mother Nature for our Mother Goose, but you watched and you watched and you pondered and you raced, and then you started to ponder the layout of the canal, and then you began to pull out tronics, and you began to pull out the scenes and place them in places, and finally, when you had emptied all of the boats, you started to design, I guess, or to refurbish me. And looking back just now, I think you were some sense, maybe you didn't even know it, preparing me. For now you were handling me in this new way. We had this new connection that I didn't even realize at the time how wonderful it felt to have you actively participating with me, to have you shaping me. It felt different than the caretaker's attention, but similar, and I felt suddenly alive, I guess, in a new way, and important. And it was different to have your attention. I guess I was your caretaker for a while, and I drove pleasure from that, or happiness, or whatever the guests call it. But now it was something new, like you were interested in me in this new, deeper way. And deeper you did, because you started to arrange things in a way that even the designers never did. And you set up a scene with the puppy wolves and the troll and the pigs. And then in the cave, you've even found a way to make the boat stop for a moment in the cave by putting stuff under the water that would slow the boat down until the current built up behind it. And you removed the lights from the cave, and you placed some of the sound boxes within the cave and hooked in some red lights. So it was a strange thing. I still didn't know what you were doing. And then you hit a lot of the humans and the heroes and the heroines and towards the end of the ride, but back in the brush. They said, what is she up to? And some of the other attractions were worried, but they couldn't feel the palpable level
of feelings that I was unfamiliar with that were emanating from you. And then I started to see, for you took 3 boats, and you took the rest out of operation, as they say. And in each boat you placed a goat, the smallest goat, the medium goat, and the biggest goat. And you made them look, even though they were already siblings, you kind of reshaped their eyes and things so they looked even more, a bit like you now, I could say. And then I watched as you watched, and you watched the timing, and then you waited at that first scene with the strange puppy wolves and the troll and the pigs, and you waited for that littlest goat, which you had wrapped up, swaddled in a blanket in the leaf boat. You jumped in the boat with it, and you made sure its eyes were seeing the figures, the tronics moving, and you held that little baby goat. You cuddled it, you patted it, and you calmed it, and you spoke to it in this soothing way that I always wished I had learned, and now, if I have another guest, I know I have learned it from you how to do this. A calm reassurance, saying, it's okay, and then more, you started touching your chest and the baby goat's chest, and then pointing at them, and saying that you were the same and showing the sign of a beating heart. I said, what is she teaching? Oh, I understand, but I don't have words for it. And then you went on to the cave and waited for the second, the medium-sized goat. And you jumped in the boat with that goat as it headed into the cave, and then the boat paused in the darkness with the flickering red lights and the strange echoes from the speakers. And I didn't even realize that you had hidden signs and things on the walls to look at until you showed the goat. You said, okay, yes, it's dark, but let your eyes adjust. And you pointed at the little things you had drawn, smiling faces and dancing goats, that you just had to pause and look in the darkness to see, and that the flickering red lights weren't there. Well, at first, I guess I'm saying this is what I thought when I watched that goat. Said, oh dear. But then you could see that the flickers were helping you see the different paintings you made, and that it was something to be interested in, instead of apprehensive about. I couldn't, And then you had the biggest goat, which was about your size, and which then I began to understand. And that goat, you took an active thing in, riding it through the woods and the bushes and the palms where you had hidden the humans and their eyes all watching. And then you took the goat out and you would walk it along the path where you had more of the princess and the princesses and things, smiling and waving, and then you would just leave the goat there. And then I watched as you moved the goat closer, and I knew that the goat was headed towards the exit, and you would have the goat go back and look at the people, and look at the exit, and look at the park, and question, and sniff them, and you would even rub against them, you and the goat, like, who are you? What is this place? What is out there? And then you would have the goat sleep with them. And it was like, I began to sense this yearning to be with the guests, as I had yearned for you to stay with me forever. And I even heard you talking of building this, what is this, I heard all of that. And then you move more and more of these remade electronics into guests, lining the path towards the exit, you changing their faces to even bigger smiles, and with open palms holding out, leading the way, or finally a few of them walking out the exit holding the hands back towards that goat. And then I began to see little goat tracks that you were painting somehow, leading right up to my exit. I didn't know when I would not have seen you painting these. And then I saw them cross over that line. And each night the steps grew till, out of the line of my exit to out of my queue, the exit queue. And then one morning, I saw them trail off into the park, beyond where I could see. And then I don't know how you had found it, and you would revisit the other things, but you found a second baby goat, and you set it with 2 feet in my attraction and 2 feet out, and it was leaving. It was a walking out of me into the park, and then I realized I hadn't seen the caretaker in some time, though some food had been dropped off and hidden where you did your cooking. I found myself remembering a look on a lot of the guests' face, which now I could say is like a forlorn pride that they would shift uncomfortable in the seats of the boat or in the line, or as they're boarding the boat. I don't know how else to describe that look on their face, almost the hackles on their skin, but that would indicate it was a bad thing and not both bad and good, or neither. But that feeling of forlorn pride when a child would say, "That's okay, I can get in by myself," or "I'll ride by myself," or "Look at what I've done," because that's how I felt when I knew you had exited my ride. I felt just like those guests looking on their children, as I knew you had moved on to where you needed to go, to the next attraction, which I guess was already being prepared or trying to prepare itself for you, for whatever you need. But I'll be here, my leaf will be here, and I'll be telling the tale you designed until you return. But my water will be waiting, my water will be swishing, it will be meandering in the turns and around with comforting motion, and I will comfort the goats in your stead when they face what they think are trolls and pigs and puppy wolves, or darker sparkling caves, or unsure whom and who the makers are. I will be here waiting for you and in your stead, gently flowing, as I say, wherever you are now, good night.
Everybody, this is Scoots with a tuck you in message. So if you're still hearing me and listening to me, I hope this show is a part of your life, and it brings you comfort, even when it can't help you fall asleep, or maybe most nights it keeps you company, helps you fall asleep, distracts you, your boyfriend, you know. If the show does make your life better, It makes your life a little bit easier, even in the depths of the night, like right now when we're just hanging out and plenty of episodes ready to go. I hope you'll consider supporting the show back. You know, Sleep With Me Plus is how we're able to be here night after night after night, and the listeners who support the show at any level for any amount of time, the show is a regular part of your life. And you could do that at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. And if you're chilling with me now today, why not try it out right now? You could try a 7-day trial, get all the bonus content set up tomorrow, see what you think, take 5-6 days. If it isn't the best way you've listened to the show, there's like an entire podcast full of ad-free full episodes. There's an entire podcast full of story-only episodes. Those also don't have ads. And then there's a bonus podcast full of really, really cool stuff. And if you're a Boar friend or a Boar best, you also get a podcast full of all-night episodes and all intro episodes. So please think about it. If you say, no, I can't support the show right now, I could still use your vote yes to keep making the show. Because just moving on from this message, if you're listening to me and you're saying, no, I'm not going to do anything, that's a no for me to keep making the show. And that's just a reality. The show is at a point right now where without the support of the listeners, we can't keep going. So if you can't support the show financially, you have two options. If you still want to be a part of something, you want access to ad-free episodes, you want the show to be here next year, the year after that, join the referral program at sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer and refer people to the free podcast. You'll get rewarded for it. Their lives will be better because you'll be helping them out. And it'll be a huge, huge boost to the show. It's way better to support the show through the referral program than telling me, yeah, one day Scoots will support the podcast financially, but now right now it just doesn't work. I'd rather you support the show right now through the referral program so we can keep making the show. So please consider that. Or just decide you're not going to support the show and fill out the form. You say, no, I'm not. I want you to keep making the show. Yes, I am a super listener. Yes, but I'm not. I don't want to support the show financially, and I don't want to do any help out via the referral program. I don't want to help out, but I do want you to keep making it, and I have a good reason for it. You probably have a good reason for it. Fill out the form at sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. Because if we get 1,500 people in the referral program and then 1,500 people or something that say, nah, I want you to keep making it, but I'm not going to support it. It says to me that I should find a way to keep making this free podcast, even if it's going to be tough, because there's people willing to spread the word about the show, and there's people who are willing to say, yes, keep making it. I'm not going to support it, but keep making it. It's important enough for me. It's important enough to me that I took the time to make a choice and say, no, I'm not going to support it, which is 1,000 times more powerful than just tuning me out or ignoring me, or saying, yeah, I'll help the podcast one day, or I'll say no one day. That day may never, Sleep With Me might not make it to that day without one of those three actions. If you take one of those three actions, you could have full confidence that not only are you a super listener, but you're a super listener that's invested your time back into the podcast and makes your life better. Thanks. And now we got the audio news, which we haven't done in a while. So this is what we got coming out on Sleep With Me Plus. A lot of this stuff will be coming out in the ad-supported feed as well. 1357 was a balcony brick building episode as part of the Orlando Park Stop fundraiser for the Trevor Project. Then we had Ray covering Horizons, the extinct Epcot attraction. That was also in as part of the Orlando Park Stop fundraiser. Let's see. We had a repeat of a classic episode, Hamlet with Brainbots. That's a really good one. Where I got out of the house. Great British Bake Off 6, Japanese Week. Then Bernie returns to the show after a long absence, even for a recording he never showed up to. And he does his reinterpretation of the story I told. So you could either sleep through it or wonder what Bernie's version is. That's Cat on Yarn. Then a classic TNG episode, Fistful of Datas, or Datas, Then Bessos 11, Big Farm in the Sky, Bessos 11. Then something 2. I can't read my handwriting. Friend 2? No. Fox 2? Huh, interesting. An episode. Oh, Frankie and Victor, part 2. Then Jenny, the new username generator. One of my favorite episodes I've ever done. And then a 4th of July all intro episode. That's what we got coming up. But we're also deep into subscriber summer. So if you listen on Sleep With Me Plus, if you're a Sleep With Me Plus subscriber and you're listening to this, one, if you ever need any help at all, just send an email to our support team, support@supercast.com. But also all those episodes are going to be in the ad-free full episode feed and the story-only feed. So all those are going to be coming out. What else we got? So if you're a Boar friend or a Boar bestie, you have the all intro all night feed. There's an all intro that comes out on June 5th. June 12th, the all night Boredom Institute episode. And they're called all nights, but they're around 4 hours long just because of the file sizes. We can't make them any longer than that. And then an all intro episode comes out after that. And then in the bonus feed, subscriber summer is in effect. So in the bonus feed, we got Posty 189 came out June 11th. No, not June 11th. June 11th, first subscriber summer episode, I think, comes out. Archie McPhee catalog. I think I read through 3 different Archie McPhee catalogs. Then Posty 190. Then Ray on a balcony in Anaheim. Holy cow, I can't wait for that. Right, Ray? And then either Frank episode 12 or episode 14, depending on which level you support the show at. So a lot of great stuff. If you support the show on Sleep With Me Plus and you're hearing this, thank you so much. Could not do it without you. Remember, you could always get a hold of support@supercast.com. Make sure you are either on our Discord or subscribe to the Sleep With Me Plus newsletter. You've gotten we've been sending out emails about it. And yeah, you can always reach out to me anytime through the contact form on our website. Anybody can. Can't do without all of you. I'm happy to be here to put you to sleep. And thanks so much for listening, and good night.